The Honourable Leader of the Second Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today is the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, which we marked this morning with a ceremony at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. This PC government has promised to protect the most vulnerable and to make Manitoba the most improved province. Yet, for years under the NDP, the workers who care for people with disabilities in Manitoba have required only a grade 10 education and no training. Their difficult work involves helping people with basic needs and dispensing medication. Under this government, nothing has changed. The wrong medication in the hands of an untrained worker can and has led to dangerous mistakes. I ask the Premier, is this government going to maintain the status quo from the NDP, or are they going to step up and protect vulnerable people by requiring a minimum of 40 hours of training for workers who are caring for people with disabilities?
The Honourable First Minister.
Well, an essential aspect of standing up for vulnerable people, Madam Speaker, is to be willing to stand up when things are not done to protect them. For example, when a federal Liberal government decides to reduce the support for health care, we stand up on this side of the House and say that's wrong, and I'd encourage the member to stand up, join us, and say it's wrong as well.
The Honourable Leader of the Second Opposition on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there is an incredible turnover and lack of stability in the care of people with disabilities who may have over 700 workers caring for them in a lifetime. The work is challenging and the pay is low. I understand that this government has said that this is an area they have increased funding, but the result has only been a pay increase of 11 cents an hour, from $12.06 to $12.15. This is a subsistence wage. Advocates have been asking for this to be addressed for years. There are people in the system doing the same work for government at a more reasonable wage. Will this government keep the NDP status quo on wages? I ask the Premier, will he commit to closing the gap between workers so that people with disabilities who depend on that care can get better, more stable, quality care?
The Honourable First Minister.
Again, Madam Speaker, I'd encourage the member to understand that his party federally has decided that it's going to reduce the supports for health care across Canada. This was not something that they asked the Canadian people to approve in the last election. They proceeded on this willy-nilly after opposing it previously. They adopted it, and in spite of that fact, Madam Speaker, they're finding ways to spend billions of dollars on other things besides health care. So again, I encourage the members of the NDP, to their credit, have stood up and said that this is wrong, and they've now taken the position as a party that they will join us in opposing federal cuts to health care. I'd encourage the member to do the same. We could speak with one voice here, and very likely that would result in greater support for health care if we were to take that unified position and only the member stands in the way.
That's right. The Honourable Leader of the Second Opposition on a final supplementary.
Well, I will remind the Premier he voted for those changes in 2007 and when he was a Conservative MP to change the formula that would reduce funds to Manitoba. This government needs to do more than just pay lip service to care and to the care of vulnerable and people with disabilities. Rights matter, but they need to be actively practiced, and we need to put energy and resources into making rights a reality. Day after day, this Premier and this government calls out the NDP for 17 years of failure. Yet on this issue, on protecting the most vulnerable, on improving the care of people with disabilities, this government is doing what it does best, which is nothing. This government can find the money to bail out stadiums or cut taxes for the people at the top. I ask the Premier, when is this government going to make vulnerable people a priority by investing meaningfully in their care?
The Honourable First Minister.
Madam Speaker, just a bit of clarification. The member may have missed this prior to his new job here, but the fact is that I oppose the reductions proposed by the previous administration federally and this one, and lead a government which has been steadfast in supporting health care and a partnership with Ottawa. So he's wrong on that assertion. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the federal government just decided to increase benefits to the wealthy in our country. That was the Liberal government, Madam Speaker, not us. So he's got those two mixed up. Now, Madam Speaker, in respect of our support for health care, it is steadfast. We have increased our investments in health care by almost $750 million per year over anything the NDP ever invested in healthcare, in spite of the absence of any federal support of any significant growth. So I encourage the member to get with the reality of the situation. Healthcare is a top priority for Manitobans. We know that, and we're acting like it. He needs to, too.